What is good with my peoples, man? It's your boy here, your favorite critic, Kurt. And we're going to be doing a review on Superman 2025. I personally really liked the movie. I think it was really funny. We're going to be getting into it. For the most part, this will be spoilers. I will not be doing non-spoilers. It's kind of too hard to be doing that. But yeah, I'm going to get into it. First, I really like the cinematography of the movie. I think the shots were really good, especially in Metropolis. I like David Cornsweet in the movie. I think he was really nice. Lois, she was pretty good. I liked her. I liked the scenes with her and the journalism scene, the people were going to die scene. I really liked that scene. I think that was a really good scene. I wasn't a big fan of some of Lois's choices. They were kind of shaky. I wasn't the biggest fan of them, honestly. And honestly, this isn't my premier Superman. This isn't my go-to. I liked, Justice League Superman and David Roth Superman. Those were the ones I grew up on. Grew up on a little bit of the first classic, the Christopher Reeves, but those just weren't my main Supermans. But I did really like this movie. Had a really good comic book feel throughout the whole movie. It was very funny. It was very accurate to a lot of the source material. I really liked it. I thought Lex and the villains were great. I liked Ultraman. The reveal was not that crazy. If you went into this movie not thinking Ultraman was going to be a Superman clone, you're lying to yourself. I don't believe that. But yeah, I thought this was probably the best live action Lex we've got ever that I've seen with my eyes, me personally. I could be wrong, could have other opinions, but I really liked Lex. He was comically hilarious and just insanely petty, and that's exactly what I need out of a Lex Luthor. He just hit it out the park, honestly, for me, if you ask me. Yeah, really liked him. The other girl, I forgot her name, but she had the nanobots. She was really a cool villain. Didn't really do a whole lot, wasn't super integral, but the fight scenes were great with her. When he flew up in the air, she covered him in the swarm of nanites and stuff. I think that was a really cool scene. My bad, you gotta excuse me. I'm just waking up pretty much, to be honest. But yeah, the Guy Gardner casting, that was great. I really liked him. He was hilarious and very comic accurate. When he tells Superman stop being such a pushover and shit, and Supes doesn't do anything about it, I think that's like a really comic accurate scene. And something that, we would probably see in like the Justice League show or something like that. Because, a lot of guys will probably want Superman to punch him in that moment, but that's not who he is. He's a Boy Scout. He wouldn't, And I really like David Cornsweet's interpretation and James Gunn's writing on this Superman. I did like it. I liked how, he told Lois he loved her and she didn't say it back until he ended up, saving the day and completing the job and stuff. And she's like, I love you too. I like that nod to it. I like that scene. I think that was pretty good. I liked Metamorpho as well, which I don't think a lot of people will be saying, but Metamorpho is a cool character. I liked how at first it's like, I just did not know he could make a son. Obviously, I didn't know he could do that. And, he technically can't, but they showed how actually he can, with a carbon and this and that, made all the materials to make a son, which is really cool. I think that's fire writing on James Gunn's part. I really like Crypto too. I think he was really good in the movie. A lot of people probably say, he saved the day probably too many times, but I don't think that's the case. Probably like one too many maybe, but I really liked him. Crypto was nice. Supergirl was super cool. I think she was a super highlight of the movie. Can't wait for her movie, honestly. She was super cool, just hilarious. She had the drip too with the fur coat. I think that was awesome. Lex was super cool as well, by the way. I think they did a good job at making Lex seem cool, but at the same time, extremely petty and comically hilarious just in the way he's doing things. Like, they broke into the Fortress of Solitude and they, split a robot's head in half and while it's flying, he's just walking straight and the pieces fly straight past him. I think that's hilarious. I think Guy Gardner's great. I think he's really cool, funny, comic accurate too. Mr. Terrific, he was great. I liked Hawk Girl. She wasn't in too many scenes though. We didn't get to see her a lot. She dropped the Romanian president. That was pretty funny, showing, I'm not Superman. That was funny. Mr. Terrific, his scene where they're on the military base, that was super cool. Of course, that was a super awesome scene with the dancing and he's sending the orbs everywhere. That was super cool. I think the Jimmy Olsen scenes were cool and funny as hell. You know, how he's talking to Lex's girlfriend. I just think that's fucking hilarious. And that's a nice spin on it. That was really funny. I wasn't a big fan of the flying, to be honest. The flying scenes were kind of weird to me. I didn't watch it in IMAX, so that could probably change something, but I don't think it's going to be the most drastic change. But maybe I'll grow on it, maybe not. But so far right now, I just wasn't the biggest fan of the flying scenes. I think the Romanian discourse in the movie, The Little War, that I don't think that was bad. I don't think that was in poor taste. I liked it. I like them adding a political view to it, you know, how they're treating Superman like this weapon, which he kind of is, but, you know, he's not. He's a person at the same time, where he's just like me, you, anybody else. I think Ma and Pa Kent, they were great. The bench scene, that was super cool. I really liked that. That was emotional. The scene where Superman's comebacks to the fortress and all the bots are just messed up and like destroyed and Ford stabbing himself. I think that was super emotional. How James Gunn get me to feel for a freaking robot. That was cool. I think, of course, the movie was funny, but it was comically funny. It didn't break up any of the seriousness of the movie. It was, you know, it was really a comic book feeling movie. It felt like you just took the pages and put them on screen, if you ask me. I really liked it. I give it about probably an 8.6, 8.7. The scene where they're fighting that dimensional imp outside while Lois and Clark's talking, I think that was really funny. And I think they showed a good job of how they, you know, they need Superman. I think the makeout scene was kind of funny, but like at the same time emotional, because like me personally, not with my eyes, I haven't seen a Superman Lois makeout scene before. I think James Gunn, you know, him just taking a risk on that, I guess you could say, and just, you know, going a little bit outside the box with that. I think that's a good choice. And his writing in this movie is just really good, if you ask me. I like both the post-credit scenes as well. The one where he's on the moon looking at the Earth with Crypto, I think that was super cool. I really liked that. That was a cool shot. The cinematography of just the whole movie was good. I like the landscape. Metropolis looked great, you know. And they did a good job of making Superman a Boy Scout, of course. But when it's time to get serious, he gets serious, you know. When they kidnap Crypto, he comes in, he runs in, he fucking flies through all the way back to Metropolis through LexCorp, screaming, throwing shit. Where's the dog, Luthor? That scene was really cool. You know, it was a lot of great scenes in the movie. Of course, the fight scenes were great. I just liked the movie overall. To be honest, it was a good movie. Ready for next. I really liked the movie overall, though. Like I said, I give it about an 8.6, 8.7. I'm really ready to see what James Gunn does next. I'm really ready. I'm super excited for the Supergirl movie, Woman of Tomorrow. And, you know, just ready to see what James Gunn has in store for us. And yeah, I'm out.